A station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
And good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for the news at noon. I'm Tosin Fakila in for Mark Hall. It is another sunny day in the DMV. Let's go to the bearer of good news as we begin with a check of your forecast. Meteorologist Damon Matson joining us with the latest on the forecast. Damon, it is so good to see sunshine and warmer temps.
Yeah, Tosin. I mean, it's beautiful out there straight up, but I think the fine line we're going to walk today as we try to enjoy this beautiful weather is we don't want to get too warm to where it starts to feel a little unbearable this afternoon, and we'll be talking about that in a second. Now, the one thing we still have hanging with us a little bit as we go throughout this Wednesday is some of that haze that's in the sky still. There it is on our fires and smoke graphic. We did have that haze a lot more so on Tuesday. Now, it's definitely not quite as noticeable here today. This darker plume of thick smoke is making its way off to the north and east as southerly winds really start to kick in, but it'll be enough that you may see a little bit of that milky look at times. But because we're going to have a little more of that unfiltered sunshine, temperatures are responding as we are already well into the lower and middle 80s across much of northern Virginia. It's already up to 80 in Hagerstown, 81 Frederick, DC a little behind at 78, but this is the general trend. We're getting into the 80s now, and that will mean by later this afternoon we're going to make a solid run at 90 degrees. Now, just how much haze continues to linger in the sky will be a factor in if we just miss out on that first 90-degree day of 2025. But at the very least, hey, we'll have upper 80s, and we're talking about a rise in that humidity, so it's also going to start feeling a little muggy. But hey, the sunshine remains uninterrupted outside of that haze. Now, as we head toward the end of the week and a busy weekend ahead in the DMV, are we expecting rain and storms to return? We'll have a full look at your forecast coming up here in just a bit.
All right, Damon, thank you. We'll check in with you soon. The future of DC's tipped wage increase is on hold for now. DC Council voted to pause Initiative 82, and the move is dividing restaurant workers. DC News Now's Yamari Sase has more.
Yeah, well, today, D.C. Council leaders will hear from restaurant owners and tip workers on whether Initiative 82 should be repealed or not. There are some growing concerns among the council. They want to take a look at the data to see how it's really impacting the local economy. Frustrations rising on the future of Initiative 82. Voters passed it back in 2022, and it promised to bring tip workers in line with the standard minimum wage over several years. The next wage increase would have been July 1st, bumping the minimum for tip workers to about $2 more. But now that plan is on hold. Mayor Muriel Bowser has already called for a full repeal in her proposed 2026 budget, and today tip workers and business owners are expected to speak out ahead of the council meeting. Some restaurants say the policy is making it harder to survive, while some workers say the initiative has led to less tips and a decrease in their take-home pay. Council members say hitting pause gives them time to review how the law is impacting local businesses and to factor in potential federal tax changes that could affect tipped income. The Restaurant Association of Metropolitan Washington released this statement saying, "We urge the council to consider Congress' bipartisan push to eliminate tax on tips, which offers us unprecedented double bottom line, but only if Initiative 82 is repealed. The legislation would open a new path to prosperity for workers and significantly reduce the burden on restaurant owners." But some tip workers say they're in need of this pay increase.
My employer is not willing to pay me more than what is the minimum, and so the raises provided by Initiative 82 are essential. A pause on Initiative 82 is basically akin to taking a step towards a repeal.
Reporting in Northwest, I'm Yamari Sase, DC News Now.
Metro says rail service at Stadium Armory is now back to normal after a small fire on the track bed outside that Metro station. DC Fire responded last night on Benning Road. Fire crews say they had to cut the power in the affected area before putting out the fire. WMATA crews worked all night to repair the affected tracks. A former Ward 8 staffer now in custody after allegedly threatening someone at a debate. It happened Monday at Union Temple Baptist Church in Southeast. Eric Cleckley was arrested Monday. A man says Cleckley threatened him during a debate because he believed the man looked at him in a threatening way. Other witnesses say Cleckley got in the man's face during the debate and threatened to knock him out while arguing with him outside the church. We're waiting to learn when Cleckley will appear next in court. On to a developing story in D.C., a scandal unfolding at City Hall as a watch group is calling for an ethics investigation into gifts D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser may have received illegally during her time as mayor. Our Candace Cole is outside the Wilson building with details.
The Foundation for Accountability and Civic Trust, also known as FACT, is calling for an investigation into several high-profile trips taken by the mayor and her staffers to find out how those trips were paid for, most notably her 2023 trip to Qatar. According to their complaint filed Tuesday with the Board of Ethics and Government Accountability, FACT says there's no record for how that trip was paid for and alleges the mayor's office gave false information about how the trip was funded. The complaint says Mayor Bowser and 4 staffers traveled to Doha, Qatar in 2023 to attend the UN Climate Change Conference in Dubai. It says the only record for the trip is a $3,500 receipt submitted by her chief of staff for a, quote, 3-night taxpayer-funded stay at the Atlantis Palm Hotel in Dubai. The mayor's office initially claimed the trip was paid for by the D.C. Chamber of Commerce, which the chamber has denied. It then said the U.S. Conference of Mayors paid for it, which FACT also claims is false. The watchdog group says a FOIA request filed by a reporter in March of this year reveals that Qatar actually paid $62,000 for the mayor's trip. That information uncovered in a letter sent to the Qatari government asking for a breakdown of expenses, describing the payments as, quote, in-kind donations, and requesting a donation agreement for the trip, even though it happened 2 years ago. But FACT claims that trip cannot be classified as a donation because it wasn't recorded and approved before the trip was taken. And other high-profile trips taken by the mayor also coming into question, including her trip to the Masters Golf Tournament, a trip to Mar-a-Lago, also trips to Miami and Las Vegas. We have reached out to the mayor's office for comments on these allegations. We have not heard back yet, but this is a developing story, and we will continue to bring you the latest updates as we get them. Reporting in Northwest, Candace Cole, DC News Now.
DC News Now is your local election headquarters. Unofficial results show Democrat Aisha Braveboy is the projected winner in the special election race for Prince George's County Executive. Board of Elections data shows Braveboy, the county's state's attorney, with just over 89% of the vote. Republican and Air Force veteran Jonathan White has about 10% of the vote. Braveboy will finish out Angela Alsobrooks' term. If you remember, Alsobrooks won Maryland Senate seat last November. And the results are also in for a District 5 council member race in Prince George's County. Democrat Shayla Adams Stafford was the clear winner with 92% of the vote. Republican Fred Price Jr. has just under 7% of the votes. To Northern Virginia now, we are helping you stretch your dollar this summer with free bus rides. Fairfax County offering free student bus passes. All middle and high school students can get one. The pass only works on Fairfax Connector and City's Q Bus. Parents who are interested should have students turn in an application to their school's administrative office. College tuition rates are sky high, and there could be more cuts to college federal funding. But there are some programs that can help. You just have to know where to look. DC News Now's Haley Milon has more on some of those hidden benefits and offers.
Is more expensive than it has ever been. You talk to any grad drowning in student debt and you might rethink your dream school. Well, Brock Jolly of the College Funding Coach says tuition programs you might not know about could make a big difference in what you pay.
The first thing is really just figuring out how to draw what I call the line in the sand.
As the tab for federal student loans in the U.S. approaches $1.7 trillion, Brock Jolly of the College Funding Coach says financial fit should matter just as much as location, academics, and campus life.
Are you eligible for aid or not?
Tax planning years before college can position your family better to receive aid. In-state versus out-of-state tuitions vary greatly. Jolly says some DMV families save money by moving across the Maryland-Virginia line. Just look at the differences in rates for both University of Virginia and University of Maryland.
A savings of, if you just take the rough math, $40,000 a year times 3 more years.
If your major isn't offered by an in-state college, both Maryland and Virginia participate in tuition reciprocity programs, giving you access to in-state tuition in partner states. Another key, patience pays. Put in 2 years at Northern Virginia Community College or participating Maryland community colleges, keep your grades up, and get guaranteed admission to a state university. That'll save about 40% on costs And Jolly says it won't hurt your job chances down the road.
The diploma is from the four-year institution, and that's all the future employers know.
Public school students in D.C. may not have the in-state options that the rest of the DMV does, but a city grant will pay up to $10,000 a year per student to attend an eligible school.
That program is pretty broad, so if you live in D.C. and you've got a college-bound student, really good to look at that list of schools.
The info on all of these tuition programs over on DCNewsNow.com. Keyword search. Stretch your dollar. I'm Haley Mylon. Back to you.